Ian from Nikon Live, welcome back as well. We're going to keep the education going here, and we want to inspire you. And if you love taking action or sports photos, we have the photographer here that's going to show you how to do that. He is a Nikon ambassador. He's also the team photographer for the Seattle Seahawks, and his photography goes well beyond sports, but sports and action photography is the topic of the day. He once let me try on his Super Bowl ring when Seattle won the Super Bowl several years ago. Let me introduce the Nikon Theater stage, Rod Marr, my brother.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. Thanks to Nikon and Mike Corrado for having me here. Thanks to you guys for taking the time out of your day to be here sitting in these chairs live and on the live stream. I have the coolest job in the world. I grew up a little Chinese American kid, and I thought I was going to play in the NBA. I was going to be a point guard for the Seattle Supersonics. And then I stopped growing. As you can tell, I'm almost tall enough to play in the NBA. Dream deferred, right? Through a love of sports, a love of being creative, a love of trying to find what really drives me, I came to become a sports photographer. And I couldn't have imagined what this life has taken me to. Today, I want to talk to you about what I do and how what I do as a sports photographer can help you in your own sports photography. Because I know that you take pictures of your kids or your friends' kids and soccer matches, and all of the things, while I get to shoot Super Bowls and the Olympics and really, really fun things, I actually found a lot of my greatest enjoyment taking pictures of my own kids' games. So we're going to talk about how to take pictures from the Sandlots to stadiums, which is where I get to work now, and equipment, knowledge, skill, practice, all play a part of it. My goal every day is to make one great picture a day. I'm not going out trying to make 100 great pictures. In a normal NFL game, I might take 3,500 photos, trying to find one good one. For me, it works out that if I'm trying to take that many photos, I'm going to get 50 that I kind of like, and hopefully one that really grabs the viewer and tells them a story. The principles of sports photography are just like the principles of photography in other areas. We're looking for great light. We're looking for peak moments. We're looking for faces, the 1/1000th or 1/2000th of a second where everything connects. I'm also a documentarian in a way. I grew up as a photojournalist. That's my background. Before I became a sports photographer, I worked at newspapers. I was taught my pictures should always tell stories. Tell a story. If my picture doesn't tell a story, then it doesn't move the viewer. One of my duties as a team photographer is show our fans and show the people looking at our photos what the team is doing. So document, tell the story, get behind the scenes, all the things that you can't see when you're a fan. You see them run out of the tunnel, you see them play the game. I'm the one who gets to see what they're doing behind the scenes. I'm the one that gets to capture it. I use lots of different cameras, from the D5 to the Z7. The little mirrorless camera is perfect for these behind-the-scenes moments. It's quiet, it's unobtrusive. It's a great tool for me. I can take pictures in all of these quiet, private moments in the back. I'm not standing there taking a lot of photos. I kind of size up a situation. I see it. I try and make a frame. The team is the core of everything that I do in my current job. The team is the core. So I'm always trying to find ways to incorporate lots of players as well as faces. Faces tell stories. Composition tells stories. Behind the scenes again, faces, composition moment. This is at halftime. Okay, if you're a sports fan, you know we talk a lot about halftime adjustments. Well, what's a halftime adjustment look like? Sometimes it looks like this. That's a halftime adjustment. This is post game. The green, the moment, the happiness. You'd be amazed how many of my photos of celebration in a locker room now include selfies. And FaceTime Live, and Instagram Live, and all of the things that they do. My documenting goes beyond just the field and the locker room. It also includes travel, players boarding a plane, players on buses, coaches. This is our head coach, Pete Carroll, looking at game film right after we've played on the way home to Seattle from a road trip. As well, I get to document these very private moments, and I try and compose them quickly, and I want to tell another story. Remember, this is not me running around the locker room like a crazy person with the wide angle. I'm standing, I'm watching, and then I'm taking a second to document. And then, of course, there's the family moment. So as you can see, my job is not just to capture the peak action, but it's to capture the moments, tell the stories, show the emotion, create a way for myself to document the culture of our team. Now, how does that relate to what you're going to do or what you do as you photograph youth sports? Perhaps it's middle school or high school or semi-pro, college, any different level. All of these things relate because you're trying to find the human element, okay, especially with football, right? They're wearing pads, they're big, they wear helmets and face masks. They look like Imperial stormtroopers. But there's people behind them who want to win, who hate losing. That doesn't change between a 28-year-old multimillionaire playing in front of 70,000 and a 12-year-old playing in a championship basketball game on a Saturday in a gym. So when we're doing that, we want to find these moments. We want to find the joy. We want to capture the disappointment. They're all human things, and they are all moments that we want to capture because later when we look back, we want to remember the story. So how do we do that? In sports photography, we talk about action. That's the first thing we think about, right? What is peak action? Peak action is taking a moment and freezing it in 1/2000th of a second or 1/1000th of a second, right? We saw, if you were here for Stephen Wilkes, he took 36 hours to make a photo that's over there. I get 1/1000th of a second. If I had 36, I don't even know how he did that photo. It's so incredible. Like, I have to be this fast and hope that I get it. Okay, now I'm hoping and I'm wishing, but also there's training and there's experience behind that. I watch a lot of sports. I grew up watching sports. I watch it differently than most people do because I'm looking for moments and pictures, even when I watch a game on TV. Technically, we like to use telephoto lenses because it gets us closer to the action. Okay, I'm obviously a very large person, so getting hit by an NFL player would not result in a good outcome. Okay, knock on wood, and I won't reach down on the floor because we're on live cam right now. Knock on wood, I have not been hit yet at a game. Okay, because if I'd been hit, I probably wouldn't be here. So we use long telephoto lenses. I like 600 millimeter lenses, 400 millimeter lenses, because it compresses action. Okay, and it cleans up that background. We get the nice blur. When you are shooting your sports, you get better access at soccer games and football games. So you don't need a 600. You can do it with a 200 millimeter lens. You can do it with a 200 millimeter lens on a DX camera, which gives you a little bit more effective focal length. We all understand what that means. But it doesn't mean that I just use telephoto lenses. I have to be able to use a wide angle lens as well. And as a sports photographer, this was the hardest thing for me to do. It's easy for me to use a long lens and just find it. But when this play happens, it's a pass, it's coming right in front of me, probably only 20 feet from me. How do I switch from a big lens to a wide lens? And I want the ball in the air. I hate when they already have the ball in their hands. So that is something that I really, really worked on. But the main point is I have to be able to use a telephoto lens, and I have to be able to be adaptable with a wide angle lens, and I have to be quick. So, shutter speeds, we're freezing the action, we're using long lenses to get closer and compress. We want to be ready in case we need the wide angle lens. Angles. I want to be low. Okay? I see a lot of photographers at NFL and college games, and they're shooting from their knees. There's a reason for that. It's not because they're blocking the fans. It's because you want to get low enough that you can see under a football helmet. Okay? So in the NFL and college football, I'm trying to see under the helmet. But at basketball, right, what happens when we're low? They look bigger, they jump higher. It's the same thing with kids. It's when we photograph kids for a portrait, we don't want to photograph them looking down at them, right? We want to get at their level. It's when you talk to a child, you're so much more effective getting down to their level and talking to them eye to eye. So when we photograph, it's the same thing. I want to be low, I want to see under the helmets, but if I translate that to youths, it's because I want to make them look bigger, more heroic. It really works for a sports photograph. If I was standing instead of kneeling for this photo, I wouldn't see the eyes of Larry Fitzgerald. I would see the top of his helmet, and the photo would not be as effective. Sometimes I miss. This is a miss. Okay, it's what's called a Hail Mary pass. I wanted the ball outside the hands for some reason. I don't know why I missed this photo. Okay, but to me, this is a miss because I wanted the ball before it hits them. And I don't know how I missed this because on a Hail Mary, right? Who knows, you know what a Hail Mary is? He said it's in the air all day. And it is. The ball gets thrown 50 yards and, I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, I can kind of know where it's going and I see him jumping and somehow I still missed it. Peak action means we want the moment before the ball. The moment before the ball. So here, you can see the anticipatory postures, right? Everyone's diving for the ball. This picture is not as good once they get the ball. Okay, because also in football, once you get the ball, the guy on top of you is going to dive to get the ball from you, so it's all heads, can't see anything, right? This one works because the ball has come in, it's hit his hands, very tight frame. This is almost full frame, which is why you can see so much detail. You can even see the numbers on the ball. We have action, and then we have reaction. Okay? Action, we talked about how we're going to capture that. Reaction is the human side of the game. Sports is a human endeavor. Sports is a human endeavor. So let's not get so sidetracked by trying to make a cool action photo that we forget what happens after the play. Because what do we want to do after a cool play? What do photographers do? You watch TV, you take your own photos, right? What do? You look at the back of your camera to see what you got. Okay, well, the dirty little secret about photography and cameras, when you shot it, it was there or not there. Looking at it isn't going to make the picture show up. I've learned that from experience because I've shot photos and I thought, oh, I really got that. And I look at it and I'm like, well, no, I didn't. When there's no amount of wishing that I can make that's going to change that. So instead of looking down at the back of our camera, the professional technical term, write this down in your notebooks, everyone, is chimping. Okay, it's chimping because someone long before me watched digital photographers at a tennis match take pictures, and the ball goes here, 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 and someone hits a winner, and then what happens? A row of 20 photographers goes like this. They look like chimps. Chimping. So now we've learned, that's the one thing you're going to learn and take away from today. Chimping. Reaction. Faces. Body language. It's not just Bobby Wagner's face and mouth and emotion, it's his arms. As you can tell, it's kind of the same. You can see the veins popping out of my biceps and triceps here. Faces and composition. Again, a long lens is helping me compress, so we get that nice definition, we get that nice diagonal line. Moments come after big plays. Moments come after big plays. And we all know enough about sports, especially if you're photographing it. Okay, when those big plays happen, this is after a game-winning field goal. This one is after a victory at home. He luckily turns back away from the field, and I'm ready with the wide angle. The best reaction pictures show both sides of the reaction, right? The winners and the losers. Then we've tied it really all together. We've shown both sides. So that's, again, what I'm trying to do. Even though I cover the team in green, the player in white really makes this picture, but it's not as good a picture without the two players congratulating themselves in the background. Joy, emotion, all of the faces of the fans around Bradley McDougald here, wide angle. This is a just crush of photographers. Because something happened, it happened towards the end zone. He jumps into the stands. Okay, this isn't just me standing there like this. This is all of us, including probably most of the people on the live stream, crushed into about a 10-foot space trying to take a photo. And I'm obviously, again, I'm a huge guy, so I use those arms, I use my height, boxed them out. That's what I do. Those are the techniques that I use at the NFL level. Okay, we've talked a little bit about how do we take that to the games that you might be photographing. Like I said, my kids are now 18 and almost 20, but I photographed their games as they grew up. So on Saturday or Friday, I might be photographing a soccer game between 10-year-olds or 12-year-olds. My daughter did roller derby. I photographed a little bit of that. I photographed basketball. And then Sunday, I would end up in an NFL stadium in Seattle or Chicago or New York or San Francisco. And so I have that experience. And what I will tell you is that the lessons apply to both. And what I want to talk about now is making the big time where you are. Okay, Frosty Westering, one of the winningest Division III football coaches ever, would tell his players, because they were at Division III, this is our Division I, this is our NFL. He had job offers to go to Division I. He said, no, I like it here. Make the big time where you are. So on Saturday, my big time was my son's soccer game or my daughter's basketball game, because to them, the players, the kids, right, that's their game. They want to win. They want to have fun. They want to play. They've looked forward to it probably all week. So that means if I take a picture like this on a Sunday, okay, it's the same technique, long lens, relatively long lens, fast shutter speed, looking for that peak action. It means I can capture that at a flag football game being played by youths. It means that if I have a running back escaping into what we call in the NFL the second level or breaking into the open. It means that I can find the same picture at a Special Olympics flag football tournament. The pictures I'm showing you right now are very similar. One's played in front of 70,000, one's played in front of probably 150. By the way, side note, I love photographing the Special Olympics. I like it more than the NFL. It is the coolest thing I get to do. This year I got to be involved with the Special Olympics USA Games. It brought me so much joy. So I'm going to show you pictures, though, from the NFL and the Special Olympics, because they're the same frames. There's an interception in the end zone. I think this one's in Carolina. Ball's up. Players are jumping. Ball's up. Players jumping. But it doesn't have to be limited to the field. Okay, it doesn't have to be limited to the field because I have access. But if you're a parent or a local photographer, you have access too. You probably get better access than I do because you know the players, you know the parents, the coaches. Like, sure, take pictures. And if you share your pictures with people, they'll let you do anything in sports. So the Seahawks do a pregame prayer in the locker room. That's not necessarily a far cry from a team gathering at a Special Olympics event or a youth event or a park league event. And look around because it doesn't always happen on the field either, right? Because every team has cheerleaders, well, most teams have professional cheerleaders, okay? But youth teams have cheerleaders too. Looking around, finding these little moments, not being so focused on action, right? And as sports photographers, that happens to us all the time. We get zero focus right in here, laser. I just want to make a cool picture, okay? Make a picture that tells a story. But when we talk about football, one of the things they say about quarterbacks is you want to be able to see the entire field. Are you familiar with that phrase in football? You want the quarterback to see the entire field. Because if I'm just looking at one wide receiver and I throw it, it can get intercepted. See the entire field. As photographers, that's something that we want to do as well. I want to see everything. I want to document everything. I want to find these moments. Joy is one of the coolest things in sports. Joy. I mean, I like documenting. If I have to document dejection, I will. The team I cover lost the Super Bowl almost on the final play, and I'm reminded about it daily. I was reminded about it this morning. Like, you guys were almost won your second Super Bowl, and then you didn't. Well, you know what? My job was still to document it. But joy and emotion, because you work so hard in sports to win, that you can capture that at this level, but you can capture it at the youth level as well. Pete Carroll, who is the coach that I work for, likes to say this: we don't work sports, we play sports. Does that make sense? We don't work sports, we say we play sports. Sports is about fun. It should be enjoyable. So as photographers, we want to make sure that we capture that fun. Whether it's multimillionaires in front of 70,000, whether it's Special Olympics players after a hard-fought game. We want to capture the essence of spirit and competition and athleticism and emotion and the human element, whether it takes place at the pros or whether it takes place on a youth field. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you very much for your attention. My name is Rod Marr. I'm a photographer from Seattle. I'm a Nikon ambassador. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Ladies and gentlemen, Rod Marr, Seattle Seahawks photographer. We're going to continue to roll on with more presentations here, and Joey Terrell coming up next.